Hi there. Not very far from the state of Uttar Pradesh is one more state vying for your attention. A state where you see a direct Congress versus a BJP fight, a state that has seen a good amount of an overarching picture of nationalism that has been stirred, a state where there has been a mention of the Uniform Civil Code. Yes, we are talking of the hill state of Uttarakhand that is also voting. The state has 70 seats, largely a bipolar contest between the BJP and the Congress. It has rarely happened that an incumbent government has come back to power. But the BJP is hoping to change that trend. The Congress, despite its internal issues, internal challenges, the infighting, the rebellion, believes that under Harish Rawat, it stands a good chance. But then, is that possible? The answer to that question will only be given on the 10th of March. But let's help you decode the kind of issues, the demography of the area, largely divided into the Garhwal and the Kumaon region. Garhwal region has 41 seats, Kumaon region has 29. And talking of the combinations here, the different combinations here that you do see, largely this is a state where you do not see much of that social engineering that is being talked about, particularly in the neighboring state of Uttar Pradesh. That is also because this is a state dominated largely by the upper castes, a state that has a good amount of army personnel, the ex-servicemen. Almost every family here has someone who served or is serving in the army. That is why you do see a lot of reference to nationalism, to our brave hearts, to their sacrifice that has been made, particularly by the BJP during their campaigns. This is a state which hasn't been really easy to decipher. The politics here has been tumultuous, to say the least. You've seen how the BJP, during the last tenure, in fact, had to change 3 chief ministers. Again, this tells you that there were, issues that were worrying the BJP camp. They got Pushkar Singh Dhami, and many in the BJP believe that he has been able to give them a turnaround. He has been able to quell a lot of dissatisfaction and perhaps drive away the anti-incumbency that the BJP was really facing. But is he the face of the BJP in the state of Uttarakhand? No. Because the face here has largely been the Prime Minister. In fact, the entire poll campaign that was launched, in fact, I do remember a poll song also that we have seen by the Uttarakhand BJP that clearly showed us the Prime Minister, the face of development, Kedarnath, because again, this is, a state that has a lot of these religious places. So that there is that fervor that you see during the campaign here in the state of Uttarakhand, and a state that has a relatively low Muslim population, close to just about 13 to 14%. You would recall that just about some months ago, the state grabbed a lot of these national headlines for the wrong reason, where you had a Dharm Sansad, where some very controversial comments were made. But has that been an issue during this entire campaign? We haven't seen the opposition making that an issue of religious polarization. And the answer actually lies in the lack of, the minority numbers here. And as I said, largely an upper caste dominated society. But if you talk of Haridwar, now Haridwar has about 10 constituencies. This is where the BSP, many say, could be a factor. Now, why? Because in 2017 here, we have a large Dalit population that actually voted for the BJP. There is also a good number of Sikh farmers, especially in Haridwar. So how could that affect the entire voting here? We'll have to wait and see. The Congress here in this state usually has about 30 to 35% of the vote. The BJP also picks up an equal number of votes. So essentially these two political parties go neck and neck. But this time, because you have an AAP that is trying to change that, but how deep has it been able to go? The Aam Aadmi Party here again has been talking of their freebies. You've seen the Congress party also making their own set of promises where they spoke about 4 lakh jobs. They also spoke about free electricity. And what has the BJP spoken about? Now, the BJP here, remember, after a very long time, in fact, I don't recall ever seeing the return of the Hindutva pitch during the Uttarakhand campaign, but just before the campaign closed for the Uttarakhand elections, the Chief Minister, Pushkar Singh Dhami, spoke of a uniform civil code, the UCC, in Uttarakhand in case the BJP is voted back to power. Now, the Congress says that this is an indication of the BJP going nervous. The reason why they had to stir the Hindutva pot. And I think it's an important statement. It'll again help you understand how confident is the BJP. There has been a good amount of development work here that the BJP portrays. The Congress, as I said, has largely been a divided house. You have seen the kind of infighting in the Congress's own camp. You've also seen a lot of internal rebellions. Not that we haven't seen that also in the BJP's camp. And I think this is the reason why you have seen the BJP going with the Prime Minister's face. Going with the Prime Minister's face. And in the 2019 Lok Sabha elections, the state overwhelmingly voted for the BJP when the Prime Minister was the face. But how will that change in 2022? I think we'll have to wait and see this. And as I said, the state might be small, but again, a state where you have a direct Congress versus a BJP fight. The BJP has been talking of a Congress Mukt Bharat. Does the Congress have it in it to fight this battle, to emerge victorious? Because, if Punjab is one of the states where the Congress had any chance, till you have seen a lot of this, infighting even brewing in the Congress's camp, Uttarakhand again is one state where many believe that the Congress does have a chance, considering the kind of anti-incumbency the BJP had. But the BJP has been saying that we have driven away all that anti-incumbency because we got in a new chief minister, we course-corrected ourselves. So I think it will be very important to see what happens on the 10th of March. The state is voting just in one phase. And as I said, not very far from Uttar Pradesh, but the politics, the entire way you have seen politics being played by the national parties of the BJP and the Congress has largely been very different. Let's see whether this is a state that the Congress can win or a state that the BJP is able to retain for itself.